back, everybody. We're going to do a special review of Shadowman by Valiant Comics. We are Hops Geek News. I'm Mash. That's Hoppy Mommy. Her name is
I'm
Laura.
Hobby Mommy.
I'm Matt. We're drinking beers. Real quick, what are you drinking for this review?
I'm still finishing up my actual beer from the Loki episode, but what I'm going to open next is a Woodland Empire beer from Boise, Idaho called Static Great. It's a
Yes.
Vienna style lager at 5.3%. And we've done more than one episode with them. So if you are unfamiliar with
We
them,
are
we
so
did a
hardcore for that brewery.
we did a Dungeons and Dragons episode with them, and then we did just a general like talking with them episode. Super awesome. If you scroll back, we did one in like October and one in January. Super cool people, super cool brewery. Not that I've been there, but I've seen plenty of pictures because I've never even been to Idaho.
Not
But
yet.
they even have Spotify codes on their cans for their playlists. And I picked this beer for this episode because this specific comic, the line between the dead world and the living world is a little bit static.
Oh, it is. It's a very good beer. I actually drank it last week because I forgot I sent it to you. Yeah, definitely forgot I
Son of a
sent it to you.
bitch. That's two beer mistakes in one
I
night.
know, two in one night. Ah, but
You're
it's a good
lucky I'm
beer.
a forgiving person. Well, what are you
Oh,
drinking for this one?
I'm also drinking a Woodland Empire beer. It's a Woodland Empire Edge of Rainbows hazy IPA with pineapple added. It's it's a crossover kind of because Boise Radio is celebrating 10 years of listener supported independent radio in the Treasure Valley and beyond. So listen at 89.5 FM or visit radioboise.org, or to support the cause, text KRBX give to 44321. And there's I'll post a picture as well. There's a little QR code on the back as so that helps you stream. So this will take you right to the radio. It's pretty cool. Really, really, really rad. I love Woodland Empire, man. They're like the best place out in Boise. The greatest
Well,
people like Christian, Keely, Rob, all phenomenal human beings.
and that's one of the first beers you actually ever sent me. Because I remember cracking that one open for Pride Day last year, which is June
Oh,
12th.
that's right. This isn't the original can. This is a remake.
No.
So
Yeah.
last year this was
It
um
had little pineapple sliding down rainbows.
yes. So this year, since Radio Boise is celebrating 10 years, it's got they did a little crossover with proceeds going to Boise Radio. So that's pretty rad.
Yeah, that was one of the first Idaho beers I ever had. And I remember
And
cracking it open out
it
back and being
does.
like, wow, this is really good.
This takes you right to a QR code, takes you right there. So we're obviously only on YouTube tonight, which is pretty sweet. And we're talking Shadow Man. It is a comic book by Valiant Comics, who we are on the press list for, which is super dope. It's written by Cullen Bunn. The artist is John David Hunt, colorist Jordy Belair, letterer Clayton Cowles. And basically, it's about a it's really voodoo vibes. So it starts
Mm-hmm.
off in Louisiana, and the
Mm-hmm.
first issue starts off Louisiana, and you get a lot of voodoo vibes. And excuse me, oh my gosh, why did I forget his name all of a sudden? The main character,
Jack?
Jack. Yes, so Jack, he kind of can turn between human and demon, and he kind of
But he has the voodoo stuff from like his family.
yes,
So, and I just want to for the first one. So we're reviewing basically issue 1 and 2. So they're both now out. Issue 3 will be coming out next month in June. But so in the first cover, he has a shirt on, Jack, and it says Crossroad Blues. And Crossroad Blues is an actual song from 1936 by Robert Johnson. He was 25 when he wrote the song, and he died 2 years later. The song doesn't mention demons, but it's been interpreted that this was a crossroads demon deal where he basically sold his soul, maybe not for talent, maybe more so for fame, or it could be both. But he was believed to be an incredibly talented artist or musician, and he's been called the founder of rock and roll. And again, he died very, very young. But it says in the song, I went down to the crossroad, fell down on my knees, asked the Lord above for mercy, save me if you please.
oh,
And there's actually a whole segment in Supernatural on this. So I got a lot of Supernatural vibes from this comic. If you like Supernatural, you'll pick those up. If you don't like Supernatural, it still doesn't matter because it's got a whole audience that is doesn't give a shit about Supernatural, and it's still really good. So it was a lot of mystery in these 2 episodes, a lot of ghosts, a lot of fun, and now the light in my hallway is flickering again.
Oh, it's a sign.
One of my kids said the other day, the light in the hall is flickering. I'm like, do you need salt? But yeah, so I loved that just on the shirt. I felt like that was a little hidden Easter egg. So yeah, but yeah, the main character, he basically protects the living world from evil
He
things that live in the veil. So it's he's keeping the living world separate from the dead world.
he is. I got a lot of like Ghost Rider vibes as well,
Mm-hmm.
because Ghost Rider kind of does that. Except for I've never been invested with Ghost Rider, whereas with Shadow Man, like I think it's pretty cool. The art is well done right off the bat. The first thing I notice is the art is really well done. I like is when he turns into Shadow Man. It kind of it's simple, but yet I just enjoy the look in general, and that's kind of what I
Right.
took about it initially. Right off the front page, it's just wow, this is really good artwork.
So yeah, he actually transforms from like a good-looking human being to this protector of the living world. And I got like it was like Punisher meets Ghost Rider meets Shadow Man from The Princess and the Frog.
Oh yeah. Oh, that is true. I got a lot of vibes, Princess and the Frog, because
But
he
yeah,
kind of
they're
reminds
both
me.
in NOLA.
That's true. It's that whole voodoo vibe that is going on. So
Mm-hmm.
it was good. Yeah. If to continue, yeah, continue with issue 1 before we get into issue 2.
Okay, so yeah, he's in New Orleans and he feels like he's responsible for protecting the living because it's part of him and his family. And he gets help from a voodoo spirit. So when he channels that spirit, that's when he looks like this person. So the issue starts. He's fighting this crazy looking monster who is looking for someone and has murdered a few people while looking for this person. I'm
Yes.
going to do this. I'm not even going to look at the notes. I'm going to do this real quick. So he's looking for this person. The monster's insistent that the person he's looking for was summoned, and there's almost like an innocence to these monsters, but he's so used to just killing these monsters and separating living from dead. He ends up at a mansion where they're having some sort of party, and they're basically drinking blood and kind of summoning the dead world. But the person, I guess you could call him Death, is like, hey, you should go here. And he's helping him and giving him advice. And he's like, this isn't good. I know you're helping me and giving me advice, but I don't trust you. And if you've watched Supernatural, I'm getting a lot of Dean and Crowley vibes.
Oh yeah.
Um, so you get a lot of that, and you're not really sure if you should trust him or not. So that's basically the first issue. There's a lot more to it, so definitely read it, but that's basically what's happening. But you see at the end, there's this very attractive female who you just see for a second, and then she disappears. And at the very end, she sees him and he doesn't see her. And I know it shouldn't be relevant, but how he's drawn, he's very attractive, and how she's drawn, she's very attractive. So I feel like they're kind of setting the ground for like there's definitely going to be some sexual tension, whether she's good or bad, or even him, you don't fully know if he's good or bad. And I think he's definitely good, but you do see some of that conflict. And we'll go more so into that when we break down the second issue a little bit more,
Yeah.
where he was forced to make certain sacrifices that he may not have been comfortable with, but he made them. And I've said this on previous episode, where the defining characteristic I feel between a hero and a villain or an anti-hero in so many comic books and movies and all the pop culture that we evaluate is the actual hero won't sacrifice one single person to save a million, whereas the anti-hero or even the villain who's trying to play a good guy will say, hey, you got to crack an egg to make an omelet, you got to sacrifice 100 to save a billion.
Right.
um, and this character is willing to sacrifice, as we see in issue 2. So is that
Yeah, he definitely. I don't think he's like an. I don't. I wouldn't necessarily say anti-hero, but he's very conflicted right from the get-go. And this rolls into issue 2. So issue 2, it opens up with Baron Samedi. I don't know if I'm saying that properly, but he's the guy you had mentioned, who's kind of that. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Does he have good intentions? And he even mentions that himself in this comic. Spoiler alert: we're gonna kind of dive into issue 2. So if you didn't pick it up yesterday, make sure you do, and come back check this out. But he kind of the front page when you first open it up, it's him, Baron, and he's just basically like gives you a quick breakdown, rundown, and then in the comic, he's just
And that's
basically
the
like,
death character.
yes, he's basically a death character, and it's like, am I a good guy or am I betraying you? Do you really know? And he even just puts that doubt in your head because he sets it up like he's a good guy, but we don't
Hmm.
truly know. He puts that doubt in your mind with 100%.
My theory is he's neither good nor bad. He just has a role to play.
Yes.
And he doesn't really have any empathy or anything for the characters. And again, I get Crowley vibes, where it's just, this is just how it is.
Well,
I don't know why you're so
yeah.
upset. This is what you got to do. Like, shit's got to get done. You got to do what you got to do.
And it was a great opening. The whole this issue opens up with a family on a road trip, and they come upon a hitchhiker. They pick him up, and you kind of think the hitchhiker is going to be a murderer.
Right. You're
No,
like, why would they be doing this? They have two little
right.
kids in the back.
There's two kids. They're singing a song, and the kid's like, "Hey, look, it's a hip hiker," and they're like, "It's a hitchhiker, dummy."
Right. You get
Yeah,
the little kids arguing in the back.
and then all of a sudden, like the mom pulls out a switchblade, and so they're like, "You're going to a knock," and he's like, "Yeah," and they're like, "We're going to," and then they kill this guy, which was a very good twist because it
Mm-hmm.
plays on the hitchhiker. You think, oh, it's a hitchhiker. Obviously, the hitchhiker's bad, but no, the family is actually demons. They are demons. This one, they're going to Enoch, Arizona, which is also where Jack is heading to as well.
So I don't know if this is going to be relevant at all. I don't know if it's Enoch or Enoch. If you've listened to our Loki episodes, you know I'm not good at pronouncing anything or any of our past episodes. But Enoch is a biblical figure.
Oh,
Um, so he's known as the son of Cain and some relation to Noah's flood and stuff. So I think because you're seeing death and the veil and whatnot, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some biblical whatnot. So we don't fully know what Enoch, whatever the hell it is yet. Well, we find out it's a place, but we don't fully know the significance of it. So I feel like there's some biblical undertones, which a lot, I don't think it's like religious necessarily, but I don't know. It's a fun
no, but
area to
you're
kind of
dealing
dive
with
into.
demons nonetheless, and so
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
there's always when with demons comes the theory of God and stuff like that. So you may see some of that coming out, and we fast forward after the hitchhiker is being ripped apart. You see Jack, and he's kind of like shows up to the town. He's like, "Why am I here?" Like I can see. I basically he's explaining that he walks between both worlds. On this end is nothingness of death, and on this end it's like a livelihood, and just they're going back and forth. Him and Baron are kind of just talking and having this conversation, going back and forth. To which Jack starts to see the gentleman being ripped apart, and he's like, "I could save him," but then he's like, "Baron, you could save him too." And they kind of have this interesting conversation of, "Hey, both of us could save this dude right now, but we're
Why aren't we
not."
doing it? Yeah.
Yeah, and they choose not to.
Well, and the place they're in is what's called Enoch, and yeah, it's going like in and out. But the interesting part is the ghosts when the town. It's like Stranger Things, but the
Yes.
part that seems creepy is our reality, and the part that seems lively is the veil or the death side.
Yes.
So
And
I like that. I thought that was interesting.
they do it really well with the artwork is they do a really great job kind of displaying both sides of, reality and what he's seeing, and he does a really great job. He's
Hmm.
walking apart, and this is also where you see that girl pop up again. She
Yeah.
appears, but he sees her this time. He's like, "Who is that?" And or I could be misremembering. I'm pretty sure he sees her, and he's just basically like, "Who is that?" And they just have like this other glimpse of interaction, and that's kind of it again. Another glimpse, and it's done.
She shows up and then they see the like ghost being attacked and they say it's for sacrificial purposes, which is what death says. And that's why like reading it is so important and seeing the actual pictures in
Yes,
comic books because yeah, even if you just read verbatim what the comic book says, you're not going to portray what's actually happening
it's totally up to
like it
interpretation.
Right. Like, yeah, like it will be watching it. But yeah, and then the girl vanishes again and Jack gets angry. And he realizes she's clearly following him.
Yes,
Uh,
because he calls her out. He's like, "Why are you following me?"
right. Or maybe they're both following the same monster. But did I say monster or monster?
You said
Monster.
Munster, like the cheese.
They're following the same monster. So if you've listened to us in the past, I got called out for saying Munster. I think that is Winnie the Pooh. I think he calls
It's
Munsters Munsters,
fine.
and he calls pumpkins pumpkins, and he calls butterflies
Pumpkins.
flutterbys.
Kids call them pumpkins. That's fine. It's cute.
I hang out with kids too much. It's my yeah.
Apparently. But yeah,
My,
he's basically like, we're following each other. And then he goes into the saloon and sees this big, like, three-headed demon. Like, if the one head kind of looks like a dog, the other head kind of looks like a crow. And all this time, he's basically like, you know what the best part of having these powers is I can't be scared. I'm not scared of anything. And so he goes in
don't
there.
be scared. There ain't
No, it's
nothing to
great.
worry
He's like,
about.
I can't be scared. He just jumps. He sees the family that was ripping the hitchhiker apart. Well, now they're there, whether and he
And they
fights
almost look
them.
like zombie esque, like
Yeah,
fighting
and he stabs the girl, and she's like, "Ow, you hurt me!" And she goes from like zombie to little
human.
girl again. And then
Yeah.
he's just like, "Fuck this!" And or sorry, I'll cut that up. Uh, he goes, like, screw this, and then just like hacks up the family, and then he goes to fight the bad guy, and he's like, wow, this guy's tough, but you never feel like you're in Jackson danger, though. He kind of gets
Right.
knocked around, but he never feels like he's in danger.
Right. But why is the scariest thing in the world a little ghost girl?
Because little kids are creepy. We as parents, we know this.
It's
Like,
because they wake up
how many
standing
times
above
have
us
yeah
because
how
they're
many times have
hungry.
your kids, like, it's 3 a.m and they're like, dad, I'm hungry, and you're like,
Oh my
what the
gosh.
hell is going on here?
Dude, I mean, Brielle's 8, and there's been more than one time I've woken up in the past few months where she's just like standing above me. I can't go to sleep. Oh my God.
Like, especially Brielle. I feel like she's at that right edge for like the perfect creepy little girl in a horror movie.
Especially because she would go for it intentionally.
Yes. But
But
yeah,
yes.
so he battles the big demon, and he kills it. He finally cuts one of its heads off and kills it.
Right, because he noticed it was actually weaker in the human world.
Yeah,
So
he brought it to
in
the
their
human
fight,
world.
how we said it was like Stranger Things, but imagine Stranger Things where they're in the human world and the upside down and they're continually going back and forth while they're fighting. So it's like they
Yes.
had no, almost actually like Thor Dark World, which we were talking about tonight in our Loki episode, where they're in, our realm, and then it's almost like the realms are kind of lining up right now, like the dead world and the living world are lined up right now and they're going in and out of it. However, this monster was I don't know why. uh he's stronger when they're in the death world, and when they're in the human world he's a little bit weaker. And Jackie or Jack, Logan calls Jack Skellington Jackie, so now every time I see Jack I call him Jackie. he
Makes sense.
noticed Jack noticed that he was weaker then, and that's when he got him. That's when he got
Yeah.
his punch in.
And it was great. He got his punch in, he kills him, and then so we kind of talked about how there's like there's rips, there's tears in the veil, and they're becoming bigger all over the place. He basically sacrifices all the spirits from this area to close this rip, and that's where this issue ends.
But in
There,
monster says, if you're gonna, you're killing me, so now you have to sacrifice to save everybody
yes,
else. So you really don't know, like, are these people on the death side or on the dead side? It doesn't seem like they're necessarily villains.
no, it's just they're kind of a casualty of war, so to speak, and it's great because I think what this comic series is going to do is going to really bring in that morality aspect of, hey,
Yeah.
he's not a good guy, but he's not a bad guy. He's got to do what's necessary. Or maybe we'll get some good backstory beside behind his character. And
Hmm.
yeah, I thought it was fantastic. I think so far the writing, everything, it's keeping me interested. It's giving you enough without giving you too much, and it's not making it to like you're dumb. So they're doing
Yeah.
a great job
Yeah,
with
I like
this.
that. Yeah.
And it's going to keep you coming back because then you're like, wow, he willingly sacrificed these spirits, and he seemed okay with it. what's going on here? And then you've got Baron, and you're like, wow, is Baron a bad guy? Is he just setting him up to screw him over later? And who's this girl? There's a lot of good storylines there, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. And
Mm-hmm.
I picked my physical copy up, so I can't wait to actually have my hands on this issue as well as the physical copy. So basically, yeah, check out Shadowman. It's by Valiant Comics. Highly can't recommend enough. Do you have anything else to say about this comic before we wrap it up?
No, really just, issue one with the character, like, oh, she was summoned, she didn't want to be here. And it did seem like in issue one that when she saw Jack, she thought he was there to save her. And
Yes.
seeing that, and you see all these humans that are in our world and trying to connect with that world, and then you see this person from so and so, supposedly the evil world, feel like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm being rescued. I'm really curious to see just how all this plays out. So
So
yeah,
do you
that's
think
really
she's a
it.
bad guy then?
Well, the person who's stalking him, kind
Yeah.
of.
Do you think the
I
girl
don't
he
know.
keeps seeing?
I don't know. I don't even know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I think he thinks he's a good guy. But
Yeah.
the remember the monster in the first issue, though, who was tied up and they were using her blood. I know you're laughing at me. I'm really trying to say monster, not Munster.
I just like giving you shit.
I'm just fucking. I'm just gonna say monster. Um, she was chained up and they were using her blood for the humans to connect with the
Yeah.
dead world.
So I think
So I think she
maybe,
was a victim,
yeah, and maybe
and
she's
he
gonna team up somehow in the astral
but
world.
Jack disintegrated her.
That's true. That is
So
very true.
I don't know. There's a lot
I
I
guess
don't
we'll
know.
see. I think she's ultimately kind of helping him begrudgingly, but she has beef with him.
Yeah, I agree. I 100% agree. And I feel like there's going to be some sexual chemistry there too, just because
Yeah,
they drew both of them to be very attractive. And
I think
again,
so.
like I said at the beginning, I love that the cover had Crossroad Blues. I mean,
Yeah,
I
it
think that's
was
awesome.
it was good. I would like to. I eventually this would probably make a really good TV show. I think
Yes. Yes,
so.
definitely.
Maybe that'll happen. Who knows? Go out, purchase it. The only way that this stuff gets made is by picking up the copies. So make sure you grab a copy of this comic book. Let Valiant know what you think of it. Find
And
us on
issue
Twitter. Yes,
3 is June 23rd.
issue 3, June 23rd. Make sure we're gonna review that one probably a little early. So check us back here. Appreciate you checking us out. Search Geek Hops on Twitter, Hops Geek News on Instagram. And then new episodes weekly. We have an episode coming out Monday about Loki. All you got to do is search Hops News, and it's going to be on all your favorite podcasting platforms. And just look for anything with the Geeks in the title, and that is us. With that said, thanks again, and cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
This has been a Hops News production. You can find Hops News on all your favorite podcasts and social media platforms at Hops News. Cheers.